just look at this. This is as real as it gets. I just walked into the office a little bit ago, and it's a little chilly out today, but I am loving every second of it, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic and beautiful Tuesday. Again, my name is Medium Rachel Vanik. You can find me on Facebook under Medium Rachel Vanik, and then my email is mediumrachelvanik@gmail.com. So you can find me there. Look at this. I've been trying to come so prepared to come and do this show. Like, I have bullet points written down, I have this, and then I step out back in the backyard or back alleyway here. And I'm like, okay, focus, Rachel. And then I get, like, maybe if you want to call it a meditative state, I really just allow space for spirit and my guides to come in and for it just to kind of unravel itself. So what I thought was going to be me just talking is now going to be talking a little bit to start off with the souls that came through as I'm just kind of standing out back. So last week, I did the same thing. I went out back, I listened to some music, I just kind of relax. There's two buildings back where I'm at. One is like a storage shed and one is another building. I'm not for sure exactly what that building is used for at the moment. But last week I saw kids walking up alongside it, like young kids. We went from ages 3 up until I would say about 10, because they kind of came in a line, like from the shortest and youngest to the tallest. So there was like this line of kids coming along this building and the storage shed. So like in this little pathway here. And I'm like, that's interesting. And then they're going around the building. So I didn't think much of it at the time. I'm like, well, that's something to look into, see what the history is there. But these kids, it felt almost like maybe it was an orphanage or a place where they helped kids or something. There was this line of kids either way. So then today, as I'm standing out there, there's a tall, older male behind them. He shows himself first in the way back, and he's dressed like all in black, like wearing a suit. Like he's like dressed to the max. He's a professional man, and he has a cane. He's kind of walking on it and walking behind the kids and pushing them along. So if anybody in my area knows any history on this building, I would love to hear it, because I'm just getting snippets about it. And I will do what I can to look around for the history here in the Corning area. By the way, I'm in Corning, Iowa right now. For those curious, okay, so then while I'm standing out there, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I had an older woman come up beside me, and she, I would say shorter, because she was hunched over. So she came up about, like breast high, or armpit high, about there. So, and she's hunched over a bit. So she's like, she kind of takes me by the hand, and her hands are wrinkled. She's elder, and she herself has a cane. And she's expressing that, like, her family had gone on. She was one of the last ones, is how she's trying to explain and portray herself and what I'm able to receive. And then she hands me this red rose. And the feeling associated with that is that she does have a living member that is still around. So the single red rose, sorry, she's kind of like still here in my ear. And she's associated with the name Elaine. And then she bends over and picks up dirt, like out of her hands, and she's kind of running it through. And then pops up this blue flower out of the dirt that she's working with, signifying that this family is continuing to grow. And this blue would signify a baby being born, boy. and she's like, they thought the land, so to speak, was barren, and that here comes up this miracle, and that her family legacy will continue to live on. And then she kind of sits down like on a bench and shows herself sitting at the grave sites of what her family was. So, and then I ask, I'm like, is it a granddaughter? And then I get the feeling it's granddaughter, it's niece, it's aunt, it's whoever this female is. You are literally the family right now. And that is what she is saying and sharing, is that you are the family. You are the one that is starting to help grow it again. And you may not know me, but if you find my old pictures, you will see me. I am there. I am in the background. And I see you. And I am part of your history. And I do love you. And I hope you can carry this forward. And this is she's just expressing love. And she's showing me again that single red rose and like showing that red aura of it. And she's just pushing that forward. So I hope that this message reaches you. Please feel free to reach out if this resonates with you. And that's what she has to say. She's still just sitting here observing family, and she's delighted. She says delighted. Because I'm like, oh, you're happy. And she's like, no, delighted. She was a woman of not many words. Okay, so let's transfer around here. And if she has anything more to say, I will definitely bring her back in. Okay, so she's just sitting patiently, listening, watching, waiting. Okay. But she's still here. So that tells me usually that they might pipe in with some more. Okay, so I'm gonna I guess while we're talking about this, Spirit runs the show. So I'll talk about a couple experiences I had this week. So I asked my husband, I'm like, husband of mine, what should I talk about? I mean, what should I do on this show? Like what? And he's like, talk about your experiences. And I'm like, it was a quiet week. And he's like, you always say that. You always say it's a quiet week. Yeah, because to me it is. And then he kind of made a joke talk about the light fixtures. I don't have I do. He was making a joke, but really I do have a story about light fixtures. Okay, so I'm not for sure what I'm wanting to say about this. I'm going to talk about astral projection for a moment. So astral projection, from my understanding, is when your etheric body leaves your physical body in a meditative state, and you can travel around to places you know. So there's a new Netflix series out about it, actually. I cannot remember the name at the moment. But how they described it was you can go to places to start out with that you recognize and travel to there and that you know. And I want to clear this up here. When you astral travel, no souls, evil souls, other people who are astral traveling can come into your body. They can't take your body. You are connected to your body, from my understanding, from this cord. And still, it's your body. It's your soul. It's your body. So people can't just come take it over. Oh, behind her eyes is what it's called. That's what it is. Behind her eyes. Oh, and this is a good one if you like some spooky mysteries. Anywho, people can't steal your body. So since I was a kid, like I've read about this astral travel, astral projection. I'm like, that sounds kind of like it might be interesting. It's not as easy as people talk about. to just do it. So I accidentally started doing it. I was laying in bed, I was laying in bed one time, and then I was in the kitchen watching my husband change a light bulb. I and then I woke up and I went out to the kitchen hours later. Ah, and my husband was like, "Hey, I changed the light bulb." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I I was with you. I watched you do it." And he's like, "Rachel, you were in bed." And he's like, "But I did think that you were there because I turned around and said hi, and you weren't there." So I was not actually there, but I was there so much, like in this etheric body, that I thought I was there, and he felt my presence, which I think was super neat. Also kind of freaky, but I'm like, "Yeah, I know you changed the light bulb. I was here." He's like, "No, you weren't though. I checked." Okay. Second time, again, I did it kind of accidentally. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. You in a meditative state? You want to go wander around. So there's this soul at our house. We live out in the country, and there's this little girl that is always in our backyard. She's just kind of watching over the area. She's about 10 years old. She's always wearing like this cute little white, like baptism dress, maybe. Anywho, it's a nice white dress like that. And she'll sometimes come inside and say hi to everybody. I mean, our family acknowledges her presence. And then when we got our dog for outside, like she kind of looked at the dog. The dog is looking in her direction. And I'm like, "Would you mind like hanging out with Uma and helping show her around?" And that's what they did. So this girl's just kind of a part of our farm family. Um, and she's happy doing that, staying here on the land. So that's one of the souls that are out there. We'll get to the others another time. So, anywho, so I'm laying in bed. Me and my daughter were sleeping in bed together. And I am in the kitchen looking out this window. And my daughter is there next to me. And like I can see this girl. And it's this young girl. And it's like different than how I would see her as you guys see me here today in the spirit world. It was different than that. It was like I was in the kitchen looking out the window when I saw her in the backyard by the tree. And then I remember my etheric body tapping my daughter, or trying to tap her, like, "Do you see this? Do you see this?" Um, and my daughter did not respond. She was sleeping. She wasn't traveling with me, but it was like somehow. So that was the second experience I had with this astral travel. And so now I can be a medium through and through, but still these things kind of freak me out. I'm still human. So now when I look out the kitchen window, which is right above the stove, I'm like, "Is she going to be there? Am I going to see her? Like, am I going to see her like I did that one time?" But no, I still see her, but in like my more third eye sense, and not like her and I being on the same plane. Because I guess astral projection is like you are on this astral plane, which I need to do more research about myself. And then that goes into this glob I saw one time. I'm not for sure what it was. I thought it was a dog, but it was something from the astral plane. So as I do more research, I will share it with you guys. You all are going through all this with me. I remember when I started coming about this medium stuff, learning about, not coming about, but learning about it, acknowledging its existence, there was this time span. It would range from like 5 to 10 years where mediums wouldn't talk about this time. It was like, "Hey, we were young and we struggled." And then it's, "Now we're successful and adults." And my biggest thing was, what's going on here? This is what I need to learn and know about, is this time span, because that's when our spiritual awakening is happening. That's when your life is being changed. Everything is changing around you. Even mediumship changes on the day to day. So you guys are here with me as I still navigate through that, because I, I'm not going to hide it. It's we're all in this together, and I never want another medium or somebody who feels as though they may be a medium, or they're just hearing from deceased loved ones and like, what is happening? And then what happens in this time frame? So we're going to go through this all together. Um, so I wanted to share another story. So in elementary, me and my best friend, I won't say his name, because I don't know if he wants me to online and stuff. But our favorite, we spent like every day together. We were about 10 years old, and our favorite shows were Xena, the Warrior Princess, and WWE wrestling. Okay, thank you. And so for fun, we'd sit up in his room and we were like, what would it be like to have a conversation with these people that we like watching? You know, so I picked Xena, of course. Okay. And I don't remember who he picked to talk with. So we didn't realize what we were doing at the time was meditating. We didn't know that. We would just sit on his bed and cross our legs. No, you don't have to cross your legs for meditation, but that's what we did. That's how we sat. We're kids, you know? So we sit there and we close our eyes, and we would both picture ourselves in a room similar to his room, which was brown walls. Just we would just picture ourselves in this room with this individual. So I would start out with talking to Xena, like how would she respond? And I would picture her, and we would talk. And then I remember that it changed, that I was no longer talking to Xena the Warrior Princess. I'm talking to my deceased Grandpa Willard. And him and I are having full on conversations. And my friend and I did this like on a regular basis. We thought it was fun. I'm assuming he's talking to one of his wrestling idols. And so we do it. And every time I would be talking, picturing Xena, and then I would be talking to my Grandpa Willard. So finally one day, I say something to my mom. I'm like, Mom, here's what we're doing. And it's neat because we can sit and talk. We can sit and talk with people. Like, it's just kind of cool. And, and I would talk to Grandpa Willard, and I would talk and have these conversations. And I honestly can't remember to you guys right now what it is Grandpa and I would talk about. I don't remember. Maybe my mom remembers. But at the time, what she said to me was, that's dangerous. Don't do it. You guys have to stop that. That is not good. And I'm like, oh, I'm just assuming at the time it's my imagination. I have no idea that I'm like literally talking to people who are deceased. I thought that's just what I was doing. Fast forward to now, I'm an adult. My mom has learned and grown throughout the years too. And as it turns out, she herself is very in tune with spirit and the world. And things years ago weren't talked about as much as they are now. So I hope I can always provide and talk with you all. But it just wasn't then. And remember when my grandma had kind of brushed me off and not explained, hey, what angels are. She's just like, oh yeah, I talk to angels. Okay, next. So my mom grew up in that era too. It just wasn't talked about. Um, And it wasn't normal, but it turns out it's kind of actually pretty normal. More people are coming out, more people are talking. One experience my mom had shared, like 15 years after the incident, was I was about 15, 16 years old, and I was going to go to the John J. Harris tournament. It's a big wrestling tournament they have here in town. And people from towns and counties away come. I mean, it's huge. The whole town is involved. And I was going to go out with my friends in their little red car, and they had a sunroof. And I'm trying to explain this car. So it's boxy. There's a sunroof. I mean, it was so neat that it had like a plug-in that you could like plug in your hair dryer if you wanted. And so me and all my closest friends at the time, we are going to all get into this car, and then we're going to go to John J. Harris. Or at least that's what we were telling our parents. Either way, it seemed pretty innocent at the time. My mom ends up grounding me. I remember walking down the stairs, getting ready to go out the door. She walks up to the front door, and it's this big old heavy wooden door, and it's got these giant locks on it. And she locks them bolts, locks the other bolt, and she's like, "You're grounded." What? Like, I've actually been a good kid this week. And she's like, "You are grounded. Go back to your room. You are not going to John Jay. You are not doing anything." And mind you, John Jay would happen around my birthday. So I'm grounded for my birthday too. And I'm like, okay. So what ends up happening that night with the friends I was going to be with in their vehicle is they ended up going on what we like to call roller coaster hill. I mean, and it's a roller coaster. It's up and down and up and down and up and down. And they flip over. Thankfully, nobody was severely injured. But I know darn well I would have been the one in the middle seat without my seatbelt, hanging out the sunroof. So that happened, but I still didn't know why I was grounded. So fast forward 15 years, I asked my mom, what was I grounded for at that point? What was that about? I mean, I'm glad I didn't go because, like, I know I would have been having a big old party in that back seat of the car there. And she's like, "Rachel, I had gotten a message from your grandmother, Bertha May." And she had said, I think my mom will probably come on here and watch this and correct me if I'm saying the wrong grandmother. But she's like, she had said, "Lock the doors." Like, that's it. That's all she said. Yeah, that was it. That was the only message mom got, was lock the doors. And my mom did have so much faith in herself and her loved ones then that she listened to it. And I saw her lock the doors. So where am I going with this? See, I'm sidetracked. See, my grandma is calling me on the phone right now. So like, "Hi grandma, I'm coming over soon." So that's distracts me from this. My other grandma's calling, and she's very in tune herself. Oh, I love her. And I'm sure she's listening. "Hi, Grandma Nancy, I love you." So, okay. So those are some experiences. What other experience happened this week? Ooh, my husband and I were having, this goes into like not following, listening. Do you guys ever have like that ear ringing, high pitched, low pitched? Sometimes in the spiritual world, when you're having an awakening, they call it like tunnel ear sounds. And where's I going with that? Yeah, so that happened. So my husband and I are arguing, like, and we just aren't communicating. We're just not communicating well. So then we get up the next morning and we're like, okay, we're gonna go do this and this together. And then we are communicating. We are like expressing ourselves to the max. because we both think so differently, and we are interested in very different things, but we have a very close soul and heart to heart connection. We're like, okay, we there's something here. So we were talking and breaking it down. We would break down to each other what we were like feeling and thinking and where our feelings go. And then I thought to myself, did I just effectively communicate correctly? And then I get this ear tunnel and this big beep, the high pitched sound. And was confirmation that yes, I was effectively communicating at that moment. So everybody, when you hear those high pitched sounds or that ear tunneling, pay attention to your thoughts and what it is you were thinking at that time. And I hope that that can lead to your confirmation that you are correct in your thoughts. So thank you everybody for coming today. Please join me on Facebook. We do have upcoming December 11th live online readings. And I'll be going live this weekend as well for an impromptu session. So please stay tuned. And I hope you guys have a fabulous day and the rest of your week, and just get out there and enjoy life. Thank you so much, everybody.